it's like, go
"You've
green.
changed
I'm going,
colors."
oh, geez.
I said, no. Oh, I just have one item to hand out, that's it, as information.
Linda came because she wanted to see you guys in action.
action?
Linda, you can do that on TV. You don't have to come here.
I told her.
Or the internet.
Or they-
I think she said something about she couldn't believe what she saw on TV. She wanted to see it
Oh.
firsthand.
You know, our ratings are so low, you know, it's
They're
hard
not
to get
that
people
low,
to come to
actually.
our meetings.
Actually, I'm surprised how many people watch.
They aren't that low.
There's a
They
lot of
watch
people
you
watch.
guys.
Well,
No,
the thing of it is we're prime time. We really are. We're prime time.
7 p.m. Yeah,
After dinner, how many hits
That's the entertainment during dinner.
on the website, but Leah has not put a comment on it.
Hey, man, you gotta
It just seems so simple to do.
even though you can't hear. They're totally cool. You gotta admit that's
Well,
cool.
I guess
Got green eyes?
There's another one.
Green eyes.
Customers that come to the store that
Yeah.
do not
Wow, I'm surprised.
They all have personalities,
They do
too.
Some
too.
guy
And
started.
you won.
I'm
always ask those
so-and-so.
Don't you have a life?
Me
too. I say the exact same thing.
Yes, I am.
But I
Hey,
hear-
Dennis,
I hear-
thank you for the
yes.
cookies.
Didn't know.
Is that you
From the
did
staff.
that?
Yeah,
You know,
from the staff.
funny,
Oh, thank you so much.
I think
Eat 'em up.
people
I have them
are
upstairs.
way more
No, they're here.
county government.
Right with coffee. Decaf, too.
And I got a little treat for you upstairs.
Yeah, this guy had a good handle on
I
everything.
made pecan rolls, and they didn't turn out as well as I wanted them to.
Asked me, he says,
But they're good tasting.
Yeah, I know.
Lots of
Everybody knows.
Oh.
Put it on a hat, you know, no
He,
makeup.
guys are gonna be
No,
like
the
stars
sound
when you have
effect.
to wear the glasses and stuff.
Like after, like if someone votes no on something.
Bonnie, so,
Like if someone votes no on
excused,
something.
he's sick.
he's talking, then, it's my turn, so he stays. An hour he questions me.
You remember the Gong Show? You know, when someone didn't like something, they gonged them. I gotta get one of those new
I
toys.
know, jeez. It's Christmas. Santa will bring you one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me get rid of this
it's,
planner.
More likely you're
7
gonna rock.
PM, Wednesday, December 21st, 2011. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of Ways and Means. And if you have a cell phone, we'd like you to turn them off or switch them to silent, or else we'll throw you out.
Just
Any
kidding.
person can make a video, audio, or recording of this meeting. We're not proud. And we're going to call the meeting to order. And the first thing we're going to do is say Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have one other announcement. Commissioner Thomas is ill tonight, so he has an excused absence. And would you take the roll, please?
Commissioner Gilman,
Here.
Henschel.
Here.
Inman,
Here?
Lemkool.
Here.
Max Bauer.
Here.
Richardson,
Here.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Fleece.
Present. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the November 16th, 2011 regular session.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes as mailed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Motion passes. Now we have the first public comment, and would you read the rules for public comment? I understand we may have a person that would want to speak.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Having heard the rules, is there anyone wishing to speak? Georgia? Name and address, please, and title if you have one.
My name is Georgia Durga. I'm the Director of Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging. My address is 6345 Lyndhurst, Traverse City. And I'm here today at the request of some of our board members to respond to the Record Eagle article on December 20th about county won't reclassify jobs. And specifically, I came to talk about the comment about the 8 home chore workers for Commission on Aging
and I
being
was not-
contracted.
And I never said that.
Well, I just wanted
I just want to let you
to
know that.
clarify for the public, and we
Yeah.
had a couple callers call
Sure.
our office too, that in the case that we do decide to contract, and our board has formed an ad hoc committee to look at that starting in January, they're going to take a close look at contracting home chore services. But we wanted to let the public know, and the people that called us, that any savings that might be recognized if we were to do that would be returned to the Commission on Aging because we have millage dollars.
Yeah. And, okay. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could just respond, Record Eagle reporter called me on the issue of the classification, and he said, well, if you're expecting a shortfall next year, what would be some of the things that you might look at? And I said, certainly we would be looking at privatizing or bidding out other services at the county, and probably the next thing we would do is probably look at the folks that mow lawns and do, shovel snow, those kinds of things. And he may have said, like, the home chore workers or whatever, but, anyway, he printed the article, and if it's not offensive, then it's not offensive. I just want to let you know how I responded. Okay?
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say that as your representative on the Commission on Aging Board, we are going to form an ad hoc committee. We have made no decisions. We have not even officially formed the ad hoc committee. One of the things that I suggested was, as employees retire, perhaps we can look at contracting out sections, like Kings Court, where if we have 40 residents that get mowed or plowed, maybe we can realize some efficiencies. That's what the Commission on Aging ad hoc is going to be designed to do, is look at efficiencies, period.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
No, but thanks for coming.
Thank you, Georgia. Is there any other public comment? Dennis, would you like to take this opportunity to introduce the newest member of our community?
I'd be glad to.
Administrative assistant?
I'd be glad to. Linda, come on up to the table. So I think you've probably met all the commissioners, haven't you? Okay.
And
but
she's still
this way the
here.
public this way the public gets to meet you.
She hasn't
This
seen the
is-
real side of it.
Our new office manager, Linda Nelson, who's been with us now for about 3 weeks. Yeah, a little over. Linda comes from downstate in the Lansing area. She's got an extensive background working as a administrative assistant, HR person for a CEO of a medium-sized insurance company. She's already kind of digging in and learning and doing a great job for us. She's getting along well with the staff and just, really kind of jumped right into things. So we're really glad to have her here, and she's going to be a wonderful addition to the county. So welcome, Linda.
Welcome to the county.
Thank you.
And now you're on TV too.
Okay.
And I want to just say, just personally, getting to know you and working with you as of your date of employment, I think you have done a wonderful job, and your follow-up and your professionalism is excellent.
Great, thank you
Okay?
very much.
Is there anyone else desiring to speak? Don? No? I'm on the agenda. Okay, the next item, being we have no one else wishing to speak, is the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
You need to add your,
Oh, you want to add?
we need to add the magistrate memo
Oh,
appointment recommendation to the agenda. Do you want to amend your motion?
I can amend the motion to add the magistrate appointment.
I don't know who supported it.
And you're going to put it under?
New business.
Yeah, I think it was Commissioner Henschel, was it? I don't remember. Yeah, Commissioner Henschel seconded it.
Any other discussion? It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda with the addition of the appointment of an 86th District Magistrate. Would you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Henschel?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Gilman?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes. Motion passes. I don't believe we have any special orders of business. So the next item on the agenda after that is the consent calendar. And would you read that, please?
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, community survey information. B, approval. Number 1, radio maintenance bid, renewal recommended by Central Dispatch. Number 2, employee assistance program renewal for 2012. Number 3, travel policy addendum, approval of IRS rates for 2012. Number 4, establish separate fund for senior center network millage.
Would move for approval of the consent calendar?
Second.
Been moved and supported to approve the consent calendar as presented. Sonny?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask to remove an item from the consent calendar solely, and maybe
You're not
we don't
fast
have to.
enough.
Well, yeah, but we didn't get the opportunity.
Which
Maybe
item?
the only thing I had was in regard to the renewal for Central Dispatch maintenance. I was going to ask Jason if he could tell us about how many average hours that we pay in maintenance, because this is a monthly contract compared to our time and material contract. So Jason, do you know that answer? Or, we can just pull it and then we can cover it after.
Yeah,
we pass
we'll
the
just pull it
consent
and then
calendar.
we can cover it. Okay, we'll remove number 1 and place it on removed items. Chris?
Well, I will amend my motion to accept the consent calendar as amended.
Is the support agreeable? Who was the support?
Henschel.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the consent calendar as amended. Roll call, please.
Inman?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Gilman?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes, please.
Fleece?
Yes. Motion passes. Next item is number 1, the radio maintenance bid. And Jason, would you come forward, please?
And Jason, all I was asking, the only reason that I pulled this is I don't have any documentation as to how much maintenance we're providing. And it was offered both as a monthly rate and an hourly rate. If we don't average 10 hours a month, then we should be paying by the hour, not paying on a monthly rate.
Right, and Jason Torrey, Deputy Director, Central Dispatch. And that's a good question. I don't have those figures in front of me. However, I can tell you that there are a number of centers. It's probably 50-50 split statewide as to who pays a annual maintenance and who pays a hourly rate. I would, just guessing off the top of my head, over the last 7-8 years, we probably wouldn't have given up as much if we paid the hourly rate as we do with the maintenance. However, there's security behind the maintenance agreement. So I would guess at this point that the hourly rate would save us money. However, if we do incur a significant equipment failure or something that needed engineering expertise and background, the maintenance agreement would probably cover most of that, so.
How old is the oldest piece of equipment this is covered?
How old are you? It's just a little older.
1987, 1988, there's a lot of equipment out there that's from,
Yeah, at least 5
20,
years on that.
25 years old, well past its shelf life.
Okay, so this is a
life
good idea.
expectancy.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem, basically, if we average 10 hours a month, we'd be at the same money.
Right.
And I know equipment well enough to know that if you had a major breakdown on any one of those pieces of equipment, you're gonna need up 2 or 3 months worth of maintenance on a time and material basis, too.
Right.
So.
Dennis?
If I might suggest, I would suggest you either move it along with a recommendation to approve, or move it along to the board with no recommendation, and I'll ask Jason to put the numbers together and provide them for you for the last couple of years of what our monthly average is,
That's fine.
if that's what you want.
That's fine. Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve this item and for the board's thing, and Jason, if you can just provide me with that information at your convenience, it would be
Will
great.
do. Jason, just provide it to Linda in our office, and she'll get it to all of the commissioners, okay?
Support.
Is there support for the motion?
Second.
Been
Second.
moved and supported
Second place.
to approve the contract with Radio North monthly at $837.90 and time and material hourly at $84 an hour. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is IT, the Google Apps Service implementation and training proposal. Don?
Hi, Don Sheehan, the Director of Information Systems. Yeah, I was here in October and had an overwhelming, yes, let's go to the Google Apps as a
Applause and
replacement for
cheers.
the current email system. So at that point, we went out for bids and sent that out directly to 4 firms and also advertised in the Record Eagle. And so we received 2 responses. One local firm declined, basically said based on the size of our organization, they said they thought we would be better served by an organization that does this on a regular basis. And so we looked at the 2 firms, and yeah, it was kind of hard when we first looked at it and how we weighed them, but both of them I feel could do the job for us. But really, after we did the interview to each firm, we also checked the references and felt very comfortable with the one proposal that has fewer hours, but also has more experience in doing this job. And so our recommendation then is to go with the low bidder. And I guess if you have any questions about our process.
Herb?
Not a question about the process, but I'm concerned about not doing business with a Michigan business. You know, that's one of the things we're trying to be able to kickstart is the economy in Michigan. And I'm just wondering, you know, if that had any impact on your decision.
It didn't, I guess. I mean, we were looking for the most qualified firm and looking at the pricing.
Sometimes we have to look at doing business with Michigan businesses.
Right, well, and I bring that back here for you to take a look at then.
You know, sorry.
Dennis?
You know, I just want the board to know that I am always aware of those things, and I did look at that issue. The difference between 60-some hours and 200 hours to do the project, in my mind, gave an indication of reliability with the firm that had been doing it a long time. And, you know, we always try to weigh that, Commissioner, but in addition to that, of course, we want to make sure we get the best bang for the taxpayers' dollars here in Grand Traverse County. And in this case, I think we felt strongly that the firm we're recommending is probably more likely to be successful.
Rob?
I would move to approve to move forward with the replacement of the Lotus Notes with Google Apps with email archiving for 3 years, contract 42 months. The total cost for the project being $101,244 for the term of the contract. The contract for the Google Apps and services would be assigned to Onyx Networking.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to award the contract to Onyx per the recommendation. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Motion passes. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Tom.
You know, after you give somebody money, we should say Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Every
actually
time Don comes, it costs us money. And you only said that because Dick's not here.
word back.
This one saved us a bundle, I think we should keep in mind, too.
Next item on the agenda, under Human Resources, is the voluntary furlough policy, and Jen Seaman is here.
Jen Seaman, Human Resources Director. In front of you is a policy to allow voluntary furloughs at Grand Traverse County, we had a few employees that asked to take voluntary furloughs, and it was recommended by legal counsel that we actually have a policy in place to address furloughs. We have hourly non-exempt employees and salaried exempt employees, and making sure that we have those defined within our policy and addressed appropriately. It also will detail some of the benefits and different things like that throughout the policy that's in front of you. This policy would be enacted during a budgetary shortfall or other time deemed appropriate by the county administrator, and employees would have to submit a written request as to what time they're asking for a voluntary furlough.
And
That's an overview.
Mr. Chairman, a question? And that would go to the department manager, and then they would make the determination, or would that go to the department manager and then to the county administrator?
Correct. Department manager, and then to the county administrator.
Okay. Okay. Move for approval.
Support.
Who moved?
Larry.
Larry?
And I did.
You supported?
Is there a reason why it's not going before the Human Resource Director rather than the Administrator?
Well, there's no,
No, I think,
it's not her role.
Well, I don't know.
No, and I guess I'm comfortable if you prefer to go through human resources. Typically, that has gone, those kinds of things have come through the administrator. I can tell you that departments will tell you I don't make a move when it comes to an HR thing without checking with Jen and getting, and using her for consultation. So, you know, whatever you're comfortable with. I'd be comfortable with it being the HR director, but since it's a department head who's making the request and another department head acting on it, I think it probably is more appropriate for it to be the administrator.
Well, I'm just concerned about all the stuff to keep piling on our administrator and with no assistant.
Yeah, this
And so-
will not be very
Okay.
time-consuming.
Is there any other discussion, Chris?
Well, this is an appropriate time for me to bring this up. When I worked for Shell, we had a policy where we could purchase vacation time. And I would like to see us, as a county, move forward with that. You were limited to how much vacation time you could purchase. It was a weekly deduction out of your paycheck, but it worked for the company, it worked for employees, and I just wanted to bring it up at this time. Thank you.
Larry?
We had a similar situation with my previous employer, that they allowed a certain number of days without pay, but if you wanted to, if you wanted to, I'm not sure exactly how it worked because I never took advantage of it, but if you wanted, let's say you had 4 weeks vacation time coming and you wanted 5, and if it was approved by the department manager and there was sufficient reason to do so, then there would be a reimbursement back to the company. So I don't have a problem with looking into it at a later date, you know, another meeting, just as conversation.
Jason?
I noticed in the packet there's 2 sets of copies. Is there a slight difference in any one of these pages, or just?
I was asking the same question. I
Okay,
think it's a
all right.
mistake.
All right.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passes. Next item is the AED information request, and it should be a handout, I believe, on your desk.
There is?
Yep.
Right here.
Go ahead, Jen.
this is to follow up from Chairman Inman, well, I guess not the chairman tonight, but I don't know. Commissioner Inman, I'm sorry. A request from last week in terms of what county buildings have AEDs and what county buildings do not have AEDs, and then what would be the cost to put AEDs in those buildings. We currently have 3 buildings that have them and 11 buildings, and I included everything. You'll see the DPW shop and the home tour garage in here. I mean, every location. And then also, just to get a general sense of what they might cost, Sue Cork, who is our safety coordinator, said the AED Superstore, you can purchase them through. So I contacted them and said, what would be the price for 3 AEDs for 6, thinking that was like about half of the AEDs, and then all 11. And so those prices are outlined there for you, and this is a package that includes a 5-year warranty, 4-year battery pack, a wall cabinet to go around the AED, the wall sign, and adult and child pads for the AED, so it can be utilized on both adults and infants. And also outlined some of the other costs. I mean, they would be pretty minimal to install the AED. I did talk with Danny Brown, and he said that his crew could install that, about 10 to 15 minutes to do that. And weekly checkups of the AED. This is just to ensure that it's working properly. Currently, we have individuals in the jail, the Civic Center, and the Health Department that check that AED, and Sue Cork told me it takes about 5 minutes to do so. And then, obviously, employee training. We've already had the employee training. We just had 20 employees go through it, and we have quite a wealth of employees between the health department and the jail and the sheriff's department that are trained to do so. And then, obviously, replacement batteries and/or pads. We do have 4-year batteries that would come with this package. So that's just an overview on the AEDs.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
To Jen and Dennis and whoever else might have some knowledge, can you identify for me of the buildings that do not have AEDs, what would be the top 3 or top 4 most buildings identified that would have the most traffic, number of employees, that kind of a thing, that would have a lot of public activity and staff members? Would it be Public Services Building, Government Center, Hall of Justice, and the Historic Courthouse? Would that be the top 4?
Those would be the top 4, but yes, in terms of volume and traffic, but I don't know that that necessarily is the right measure for where you need AEDs. I mean, where people are doing heavy construction type work, you know, that might increase the need, and that could be DPW garage, or that could be home chore garage. So, you know, I mean, I just wanted to point out that I don't know that that is necessarily the only measure that you should take into account.
How much do we have left in our contingency account for the remaining part of the year?
Approximately 80,000.
So you're telling me, Jen, for the cost of $12,000, $194, we can get all buildings in the county having one AED?
Yep.
Wow.
That was the quote that I
It's
received.
really come down, it's less than half.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Dennis?
I guess in terms of full disclosure, Jen, that would require, though, additional people to be trained, because we didn't train from all of these buildings.
Correct. Well, no, we did have, I do have, no, you are correct. I don't think we have one in every single one of those buildings, but most of the buildings we have somebody trained.
That would
But
not
they are
be-
not trained necessarily on how to make sure the AED is working properly in terms of being on and working. They're trained on how to actually physically use the AED, but there might be some more training
be
utilized
minimal,
there.
Most of it's self-explanatory though on those AEDs, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, we would have to find someone in each location to do the weekly checkups on the AEDs and ask really for employees that would be willing to do that for us. You know, some of them are near other locations, and like the DPW shop is, you know, kind of out on its own over there, but the facility shop is right next to the Civic Center. You know, it's in proximity, but some of those things we could take into consideration if we don't want to do all of the locations.
Chris?
Well, if we're not going to do all locations, I want to suggest that Twin Lakes is a priority. We've had 2 drownings out there, and an AED may have made the difference. I don't know that it would have. I mean, I'm not familiar with the circumstances, but I would like that to be a priority. Thank you.
I think you're missing a building. The Sheriff Department has a new building that they just put online for their storage.
Storage, yeah.
Their storage garage.
And that's not going to have any activity.
Well, but that's got activity, that's got people, but it's not got the public.
The Marine Division is also located there.
So, but the Marine Division then would have the unit, though, in their unit?
Well, I guess that would be the thing, Commissioner. Most of the sheriff's vehicles have the AEDs, so but I can't answer for sure that the Marine Division has them in their vehicle. But that would be, so if they do not, you know, we might want to add one for that facility. That's a good point.
Well, also, I'm thinking of, you know, Power Island, that maybe what we ought to do is figure out how to go out for donations for the people that use that facility, that they might be willing to cough up and come up with a donation to be able to pay for that. We might want to look for something like that.
Yeah, and keeping in mind, we will need to check it weekly.
Well, but it's only in the summertime.
Right, but
Yeah.
still, there's,
But the guy out
you have to
there-
make sure that it's,
yeah.
that was one of the important things, that if you actually invest in having one, that you make sure that it actually works.
I'm just
So-
wondering if there wasn't one that we could rotate out there for the 3 months in the summertime. And, you know, I don't know, just a question.
And I apologize, I just realized, I forgot the senior center on here.
Oh.
They do have an AED.
Oh, they do
Add
have
them, they do, add them to the top list. I apologize, I just noticed that.
Okay.
So. And they've been trained, says Georgia.
Thank you for being here.
Sunny
Sunny?
has, yeah.
Well, a little bit of knowledge about AEDs, but, you know, if someone were to ask me, I think it makes sense to put it at the Public Services Building in the Governmental Center. The prosecutor's office is in such close proximity to the Sheriff's Department that I'm not sure that it would necessarily make sense, along with the fact that a limited amount of actual public input interaction in and out of that building. The Front Street building, I think, is important because you need to remember what your clientele is that's there.
Yep.
You know, they are the highest risk groups.
It's next to the fire department.
Yeah, but
They have one.
City fire.
Yeah.
1 minute or 2 minute could mean a matter of life or death.
Well, you know,
Do they have an AD?
I'm just going down through there. The home chore garage is vacant a good part of the day,
Yeah.
and even when there is someone there, it's one person. You
Yeah.
know, if that person
Right.
goes down, the AED's not gonna help anybody.
Okay.
The DPW garage is, you know, there, at least there's people, there, although DPW garage is very similar to that. You know, there's not anybody there a good part of the time. And if there is, it's one person, maybe there'll be two people, but it
I mean,
doesn't-
I think there's a mechanic and there's a secretary always there.
Okay, keep going.
Facilities, you know, we already talked about a little bit with the proximity to the Civic Center. Twin Lakes, I think Chris is right. Twin Lakes is a facility that has a lot of use we don't think about, and a lot of older people use it, a lot of older groups of
we got
people use
6.
it. You know, all of them clod dancers and all those folks that are in there once or twice a month, you know, they might need it. The Hall of Justice and the historic courthouse makes sense. Power Island, my concern would be the security of it and the maintenance of it.
So we got
It's a very expensive piece of equipment,
So
and
you-
if it's not properly secured and taken care of, but yet it still has to be accessible, so you can't lock it up.
Larry?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we direct staff to purchase AEDs and to the Public Services Building, the Governmental Center, Front Street Building, Twin Lakes, Hall of Justice, and Historic Courthouse, and that we follow up with training if necessary for an individual at that location.
Support.
And to clarify, that money would come from the contingency, correct?
Money would come from this year's contingency.
Thank you.
You know, the question that comes to my mind, though, is if you have those devices and you have one employee that's trained, the employee obviously isn't there all the time. Even if you have 2 employees that are trained, the probability of somebody being right there all the time, I think creates a liability situation for us. We have it, everybody knows we have it there, but we don't have anybody to run it. And so consequently, somebody dies, I think it leaves us open to liability. Chris?
Well, at the Twin Lakes Park, we have a full-time caretaker. At the Front Street Building, you know, Georgia's staff is trained in CPR, and to train them additionally in an AED application, I don't see as a problem. The Governmental Center,
Busy.
you know,
We got a lot of people here.
I don't see that as a problem either. I mean, if somebody is here, which we all are during the day, and I see Dennis's hand up and he's going to keep me from making a mistake, I can see that. But there are some buildings I think it makes a lot of sense. And Chairman Fleece, you know, you can't always operate based upon liability. You know, at some point, you have to step out and say, what's the best benefit for the public? And these AEDs, I think, are in the best benefit or in the best interest of the public.
Sonny?
I guess the other comment that I would have to add to that is, just because we don't have someone there, doesn't mean there's not going to be someone there that's qualified to use this piece of equipment. You know, you go to Grand Traverse Mall, it's hanging in the commons area. You go to the high school, it's hanging in the commons area. You know, it's not like we have to have a personnel standing next to that AED in case it needs to be used. There are thousands of people in this community that know how to use an AED. And trust me, folks, it's not complicated. When you open the cover, it comes on. And when it says push to shock, you push the button. When it says stand clear, you stand clear. I've been doing it a long time, and they haven't moved the button. So it's really not that complicated.
Dennis?
No, I was just going to say that very thing. From everything I'm told, you don't even need training to use it. It's very self-explanatory, as Commissioner Lemkel said. And so, you know, pretty much anyone can use it.
Ross?
The only thing I would do is I would add the prosecuting attorney's office. I mean, you have about half a dozen employees in there, and, you know, it is secure. I mean, you just can't walk into that building, and it seems like for that small amount of money, we ought to, you know, buy 7 instead of 6. So I guess I would offer that as an amendment, or ask the mover to add.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Could you clarify which one we're adding?
Prosecuting attorney.
I would amend my motion to the prosecutor's office. So my amendment would be the Public Services Building, the Governmental Center, the prosecutor's office, Front Street office, Twin Lakes, Hall of Justice, and Historical Courthouse, for a total of 7. Did the second agree with that?
Yeah. The question on that is the DPW is really operated by all the townships. If they decide that they want one of those in there because that's their issue,
Yeah, they can pay.
then they should be able to tie into this purchase and be able to buy more if they want to.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
I have a question.
Chris?
The only question I have is, at the Front Street building, it's going to benefit the Commission on Aging. Would we take that, and George is going to, I see her
Comes out of your
wince.
budget.
Is it going to come out of her budget instead of the general fund?
No, I just.
That's a little different. That's a county building.
Yeah.
All right.
So I would think we would cover that.
Yeah, the motion's
Okay.
to come out of our general
Smile.
contingency account.
We'll get it
Rob?
another way.
Do we have any statistics as to how likely a situation is to occur that would require one of these units? Or has it ever happened in the memory of anyone here, or any, do we have any idea of, I mean, if people had heart attacks here and died because these weren't available?
I have one almost every meeting here.
Yeah,
This is self-fulfilling.
yeah.
So then I would assume we could take turns administering.
I asked the sheriff, I asked the sheriff he wanted to tase me and then hit me with one of his AEDs in the car to make sure it works, and he didn't really take me up on the offer.
Do we have any numbers?
I can tell you, Commissioner, we have had heart attacks in our facilities since I've been here. I cannot tell you whether they survived or not, but we've had emergency calls with heart attacks where we've had to bring ambulance in here.
Chris?
It's not very frequent.
I went to a swim meet, and I have to tell you, I watched a gentleman, a swimmer, fall and drop. Were it not for the AED, he wouldn't be with us today, and he is. There was a doctor on hand. There were 2 trained paramedics on hand. They were doing CPR. If it hadn't been for the AED, Ken would not be here today. I can only wonder at Twin Lakes, and I would have no clue. I mean, those two young men that drowned, maybe if we had had an AED. And I would hope that I'm not putting the county at risk. And you're looking at me strangely.
I'm giving you this look.
Okay.
It's not a no, but in the case of those two individuals, they were underwater like 7 minutes.
Recovery time was too long.
I don't know. I don't know the circumstances, but, maybe someone else.
Right.
Okay, maybe someone else that goes out, and as I said, it was a swimmer at a meet. These guys, they were on that swimmer, I mean, they were on him like within 60 seconds. They had him on the benches, they were doing CPR, the AED came over, it made a difference. And for this small amount of money, I think it's important.
Jason?
Well, essentially, we've got a product that's going to have a 5-year warranty with a 4-year battery life. So for $8,000, we can stretch that out over a minimum of 4 years anyway. I think it's not too much of an investment. I think we could probably move forward and get these things.
Larry?
Well, as you know, I attended last year's Martin Luther King Day, and there was the introduction to the AED and how it worked, and it just sort of hit me like a brick, coming at me like, gee, I wonder if we have any of those in our building, and I wonder if people are sufficiently trained in CPR and at least among our buildings that we have and the employees, and what happens if some person dropped and had heart problems or had a heart attack or stopped breathing. And I'll always remember the story that Katie Laurent told me that I think it was her father who dropped, and if there wasn't an AED there, someone ran and got an AED. It was in the building or the facility, got his heart running again and got him to the hospital and saved his life. So the cost of these, if we can save one life at any time in the future, in my mind, is worth having.
It's been moved and supported to purchase AEDs for the Public Services Building, Governmental Center, Prosecuting Attorney's Office, Front Street Building, Twin Lakes, the Hall of Justice, and the Historical Courthouse. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen. Next item is Mr. Bott on finance.
Yes, on page 30 is our trial balance for the general fund as of November 30th. This is summary information, but it does show that our cash balances are positive, and as of that point in our fiscal year, our revenues were ahead of our expenditures. That's followed up then by a little more detail in terms of the revenues by source and the expenditures by function. And what these reports do primarily is show variances year over year. There's no comparison to budget with this format, but it does show the significant variances in revenues. And if we start with the revenues, which are on page 31, you'll see that the tax revenues are down compared to a year ago, and that is primarily due to two things: the reduction in taxable value, but also the tax tribunal losses that have been recorded to date. I'm showing here a figure of $192,000. We're actually at $210,000 as of today's date. I have no idea where or when that will end. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on another summary that I had provided and left on your desk before the meeting. Some of the revenue variances are a function of the fact that we are also can be explained by the fact that the budget for certain items is lower. That would be true with the state grant source. There were a number of MSU extension grants that we no longer receive, and charges for services was another area where the budget had actually been reduced last year compared to this year. On a positive note, you see some similar type variances on the expenditure side. And a lot of the $884,000 that's on page 32 is a function of the fact that the budget is lower in 2011 than our budget was in 2010. But it's primarily due to personnel savings that are accruing over the course of the fiscal year. And the other notes explain some of the significant variances in a little bit more detail. I know that's hard to, grasp in a short time, but I would certainly try to answer any questions that you would have on that. If it would be okay to actually take a look at the estimate of revenues and expenditures for the year for the general fund, which is the other document. I know over the course of the year you ask where I think we're going to end our fiscal year, and I generally will tell you that I'm not sure. And this year, with the uncertainty in our tax revenue, the tax tribunal adjustments, it's even more difficult to project where we're going to end the year. But I have tried to do that here by summarizing and projecting the revenues and the expenditures by department. And you can see the revenues, which are totaled in the first column, are shy of the expenditures by about $124,000 at this point. That includes the fund balance that we have budgeted for use in 2011, and I've also estimated the total unexpended personnel costs based on the fact that we have all of the payrolls recorded as of today, and we have just a payroll accrual to do when we close the books. This is probably a very conservative estimate at this point. I tend to project the expenditures on the high side, but there is, we have 2 claims runs in January of 2012 where we will accrue accounts payable against the 2011 budget. It's almost impossible to estimate what those payables are. I have historical information. We try to accrue and bill everything that we can in the December, the last claims and accounts, which will be next week, such as the court appropriations, and I try to take that into consideration when I project the numbers. But here's a couple of cases or for instances where I think we have some exposure that we've not had in the past. The tax difference, the $25 million figure under non-departmental revenues, that takes into consideration the reduction in tax revenue based on the equalization report. That's a $712,000 hit. The Michigan Tax Tribunal adjustments and refunds that we've made to date are $210,000. And I have built into that projection, without having the actual tax rolls from all of the local units, I don't know what we will settle at in March. So I built in another $75,000 reduction for that, based on the fact that the Michigan, or the tax tribunal adjustments are actually adjustments for both 09 and 010, and in most cases, that's a similar reduction in the current year levy. But we've been able to quantify $75,000, so instead of using a $100,000 figure, I've used $75,000. So you're just about $1 million less in tax revenue because of those three items. That's the big variance on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, doing real well with the personnel budget. we're going to come in under budget in total personnel. There are some departments where we're going to be over. That favorable variance is 640 to 650,000.
Wow.
That's pretty close to the amount of fund balance that we built into the budget. But the loss of tax revenue, interest revenues being down, we made a $100,000 adjustment to cover interest revenues that were low. And then there are some things creeping in on the expenditure side that we're not quite sure why. We have the numbers are seeing some of the experience. One would be our medical claims in the jail. We're completely under the managed care plan. Our cap that we had set when that contract was established, we're well over the cap. I'm estimating there's 50,000 of medical claims out there that we're going to pay when that final reconciliation is made for 2011. And I've included that in this projection here. The one item that really is helping us this year is our appropriation to the child care fund. It's Department 970. We had budgeted almost $1.2 million for that appropriation, and the $934,000 figure that I have here is probably high. I mean, that could be 50,000, maybe even 75,000 under that, which will help close the gap here that I'm showing for the revenues, that are under the expenditures. So child care right now has more than made up for the tax tribunal losses, but it still could potentially cause us to use more fund balance than we had planned on using at this point. And it really depends on where some of those final bills come in. Captain Hall is working on that settlement with HPL. I can't, until we get through that second claims run in January, we will not know what the payables are. And two of the large appropriations that we have that are based on billings when you have actual costs are the circuit court and the district court appropriation. And I feel I have those numbers on the high side right now, so that could close the gap or the shortfall somewhat too.
The expenditures on the high side.
The expenditures I have budgeted high. But I tend to be conservative, overly conservative on the expenditures and probably a little understated on revenue. So will that close the 125,000? It could. But the one thing I want to leave you with tonight is I have no idea where the tax tribunal will end up. And the situation there is simply this. When we close our books, which will be by January 31st, the auditors come in 2-3 months later, and they have 2 to 3 months more history than I have. And they'll actually know what the settlement is. They could, if they see additional tax tribunal adjustments that are made or that we receive in February and March, they may say that, hey, those have to be pushed back to 2011. That's not how we've handled it, but there is the possibility that they would do that.
Wonderful.
So.
A good example of that is Commissioner Inman came and saw me yesterday.
Yes.
He got a call yesterday from Pat Paul from Blair Township who said, we just stipulated on the Menards building.
And I don't even know that.
Yeah, well, I told you today.
You did today.
And that's $12,000 less to the county. And that's the kind of stuff we're seeing on a regular basis. We're in the process of starting to interview equalization director candidates, and as we talk to them, they say it's the same thing. One big box, all big boxes. Everybody goes through it. It's Target, and it's Lowe's, and it's Menard, and Home Depot.
Exactly.
And right down the road, right down the list. So, unfortunately, we don't know who has filed with the Michigan Tax Tribunal. It used to be you had to go through the local board of review in order to take it to the tax tribunal, and that law was changed. So there could be things down there that we have no idea are petitioning to be reviewed. And so that's where it makes it real difficult for Dean. Remember this March I told you, look, here, we're finally getting the numbers from last year. That's what Dean's talking about. We just won't know. So,
Rob?
Are those petitions for tax tribunal, are those subject to FOIA? Could we be asking for those every month?
well, I'm sure they're subject to FOIA. And notices are eventually sent to the local units of government. I think what we talked about is what we really need to do is have a better system where the local unit identifies for us when there's a tribunal issue. They don't do that now. Of course, in East Bay, we have it because we're doing it, but that would be the step that we need. If we knew that when the township knows it, then, we'd be in the loop on these things. So we're working on that.
Sonny?
Dean, just a couple comments. One, in regard to the child care, don't talk too loud. We still have 10 days of this year left, and you and I have both seen that number jump really huge in a matter of just a few days even, depending on, what happens in probate court. The other thing, I noticed that we're, for round numbers, about $150,000 down in salaries in the Sheriff's Department, Central Records, Investigative, Secondary Road, and Administration. My question is, how much over are we in the overtime budget?
Actually, the overtime, we've made several budget adjustments over the course of the year to cover overtime, primarily in the jail, the corrections division. That has all been covered within their personnel budget, so staffing...
That's reflected in these numbers?
Yes.
Yeah, so in other words, that 640 number would be higher if we didn't have to transfer some of it in to cover overtime.
Well, because I know a couple of years ago, all of a sudden, at the end of the year, we were at $400,000 worth of overtime that we had to cover.
Well,
we're not in that position.
We try to stay on top of that over the course of the year and make those adjustments as we go through the year. Would this be a good time to talk about the other item?
This would.
What Dennis and I would like to propose is, we are very much concerned, as you are, with the use of fund balance, but we do have the ability to control or reduce appropriations. One of the items later on is the child care fund appropriation, and that's on page 49. What I'm asking to do in that case is only appropriate the amount of general fund dollars that we need to meet our match requirements under the state grant, and I won't know what that number is until I have those final payables in.
So that's one item. We're not overly excited about this shortfall that's been conservatively projected at this point in time. I'll give you another example. We received 3-4 weeks ago a dividend check from MMRMA, $178,000. Okay, we put that into the insurance fund, where it always goes. But what that means is, well, we think we should take about $75,000 of that and add it to our
Fund balance.
no, what do you call it? Our retention fund.
Right, it has to be added.
So there's another $100,000 roughly, I'm using rough numbers, that's there that actually could be used to reduce down next year's appropriation to fund the health, or that insurance fund. So our point is there are other things that we can look at if you give us the authority to go ahead and do that, make us have less heartburn about this at this juncture in time. Things are going to change here over the next couple of months, and until he sees final numbers, we just won't know. But that's one example that I think is an example that you need to be aware of. Here's another $178,000 that came back to us that, all we're using it for is to fund our insurance line items is what we're doing.
Yeah, what we did budget the premium in the general fund. It's an appropriation to the insurance fund. That premium was budgeted at 100%. It's a little over $700,000. With this refund rebate, it's actually a net asset distribution because of their performance. They invest the money that they have, and we could potentially reduce the general fund appropriation next year by $100,000 to offset, if we do use more fund balance. So you have the ability to go into next year's budget and make those changes to kind of equalize.
So you understand, when they bring us the dividend check, we sit down with our insurance agents and we say, okay, how did we get this? What's the result here? And where's the best use for this money? And, so we sat down with the insurance representative and we analyzed what our retention fund looks like. Right now, we're in really good shape. We don't have many lawsuits against us. We've been, we had at one time many, but it's down to 2, I think, right now. And so we thought, all right, let's be conservative about this. And together we agreed that it probably made sense to put another $75,000 in there just to kind of protect us. But that leaves this extra $100,000 in the fund that we can either use to take care of a shortfall or in 2013 to help fund help fund insurance line items. So, that's the kind of stuff that we do on a regular basis. But I just wanted you to understand that while it's conservatively high, and we need to be very careful of it, there are some mechanisms we have to kind of put this in balance before the end of the year.
Chris?
Well, I just want to thank you both for looking at our budget conservatively. I think it keeps us in good financial shape. And I'm certainly willing to support your fiscal conservatism.
Ross?
Dean, on this, the revenues by source through the end of November sheet that was here on our desk, do you have any projections on what revenues are going to look like for the final month of the year? Because, I see they're about a little over $800,000 for the month of November. Is that a reasonable number for December, or is there any way of telling?
December, Commissioner, will be higher because we will estimate what that outstanding tax revenue is based on the levy. I could sure use some help with that. And we do many adjustments at year end. There are grant revenues, primarily state revenues, that until we know what the final payroll and the payables are, we can't book those recoveries. The Marine Safety Grant is one. The revenues will be higher by quite a bit than the month of November. But overall, we're going to come in at about 37 million, maybe 37.5 million. If I've underestimated what the revenues are, but we will be well under the budget, primarily because we have not amended the budget for the tax revenue loss. The $712,000 that we talked about in May, it was almost impossible to go in and identify where the bulk of that reduction was personnel. And we were watching, the personnel and the payroll, every payroll, but we didn't want to go into 30, 35 departments and take payroll line items down. We were watching it in total. The budget is higher at 38 million, whatever the number is on your sheet. I think it's
not quite 38.8.
Yeah.
And you're estimating revenue somewhere around 37.3. So looking somewhere around 1.4 to 1.5 million shortfall for the year.
Based on the budget.
Based on the budget,
Correct.
right.
Correct.
Okay. And that's mostly delinquent tax revenue?
Well, it's primarily just the reduction in tax revenue due to the decrease in the taxable value, the tax tribunal losses, refunds that we paid out that are current year charged, and just, revenues in general. Interest revenues are down. The fortunate thing for us there is the Register of Deeds, the recording fees, have all but offset that loss. We did budget for an increase in the surcharge revenue at Central Dispatch. I know Jason is not here, but we were anticipating that the Michigan Public Service Commission would take that rate per device up from 66 cents to 80. That was $148,000 revenue that we built into the budget that we are not going to see. There's a combination of revenues that make up that difference, but primarily tax.
Thank you, Dean. Dean, I have a question on the next item, the budget adjustments.
Okay.
On page 34, under the General Fund 101, Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
The per diem, why would that almost be $10,000 we gotta add in?
We had, in the, all the departments in the general fund were asked to reduce their budgets because of our declining revenues. And the per diem, which is a large item in the Board of Commissioners budget, was reduced below what it had actually been in 2010. And I think the fairest answer is that the number of meetings that the commissioners have attended during the year was pretty similar to what they were in 2010. So by making that line item adjustment, the per diem line item was short.
I can probably add to that a little bit.
It might be up a little bit.
I think a number of things were, I'm sorry about that name change down there below there. A number of things, as Dean indicated, is that going into the first year of the election cycle and having 3 newly elected county commissioners, we weren't sure of the activity level compared to the previous county commissioners in terms of attending meetings. And previous to that, we brought commissioners in previous to them taking office and going through a lot of training. And what we elected to do is wait till they became officially elected, and then they went to all their training meetings when they became an elected official, which would qualify them for a per diem. And in all fairness, I encouraged them to attend as many meetings in various departments as their schedule would permit, so they would learn about all the various areas of county government and stay on top of issues, as well as we've had a lot more things hit us this year that commissioners felt it would be appropriate to attend meetings, and they might attend 3 or 4 outside of the regular scheduled meetings, which are still permissible if they feel it's important for them to be there from a knowledge base, especially like the septic treatment plant issue and the Board of Public Works. So there was a substantial reduction in the guests in the per diem account. So the combination of the reduction that we took and not knowing the activity level, the training issue, and I guess my encouragement to commissioners to get up to speed as fast as they can and go around to various departments and have that training. And a number of them have taken initiatives to attend some of the more important meetings. For example, the well issue out there at your district, and the septic treatment plant and other things that have continued to hit us. It's been a really busy year, and through the claims and accounts process, we review those, and we don't see that there has been any abuse by any commissioner at all. It's just been a heightened activity this year with commissioner attending meetings, and I think it's been for the betterment of the commission. So, but most of it was the reduction and the unknown about the activity level of the new commissioners coming on board.
You gonna vouch for him, Dean?
Well, I would just add that normally you have about a $50,000 expenditure there, and I think where we're gonna, based on my last projection, you'll be in the 53.5 range. So
pretty close.
His explanation is pretty good.
Thank you. Dennis?
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I'll point out is that the commissioners, along with every other department, agreed to take cuts this year to balance the budget. And in this case, we weren't able to live with the cut. We had to put money back. And I guess the point I'd make is that it's kind of, it's Jen's Merry Christmas present to you, because $14,800 to balance this came out of Jen's budget to balance the budget for this year.
And just one other thing, the commissioner's budget outside of our general compensation are items like legal fees for the county and accounting fees for the county that aren't they aren't spread out they aren't cost proportionate and divided into the other county for the other departments within the counties. We absorb all those costs, those legal costs, those accounting costs. So you know, there are other components like recognition, those kinds of things that the Board of Commissioners has chosen over a long period of years just to absorb in our budget. So really, the only thing that is there really is our compensation that, that is really there that, that we can make really any adjustments on.
Jason?
I should note also, I provided a bit of a Christmas gift myself with not accepting that $2,000 in lieu of.
Thank you.
So.
Big savings, thank you.
I tried to talk you into it.
I know you did.
Because you earned it.
So a motion would be in order to accept the budget
Yeah,
adjustment.
is there-
Motion to approve the budget adjustments as presented.
Been moved and supported to approve the budget adjustments for November as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is the Health Services Building Contract Addendum, page 37.
I'll be brief on this. In working with the building authority, they raised a number of issues, which I provided their minutes, and they're listed on the bottom of page 38. And the big one was the fact that they wanted to know how any markups or extras for additional work or change orders would be handled. And when I reviewed the contract, all of the documents that were referred to didn't cover that issue, and that issue was covered in the bid form. And so what I'm asking for here is that we actually add that as an addendum to the contract, and the only way I could do that, since the board approved the contract, was to bring it back through the process. So, and the other issues regarding drug-free worksite, tobacco-free, those items are being handled at the weekly meetings with the contractor, and Danny Brown has assured me that he's attended 2 of those, that they're addressing those, and the building authority was happy with that, provided we get the contract.
Herb?
Motion to approve and also to make it immediate.
No, thank you.
Support. Support. Who supported it?
Rob.
Chris?
I will not be voting in favor of the motion simply because I oppose the new health services building.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported.
You did know that.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Limcool,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
No.
Richardson,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Gilman,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Enman,
Yes.
Fleece.
Yes. Motion passes 7-1. Next item is the child care fund on page 49. Dean?
We talked about this briefly when we were reviewing the budget situation for the general fund, but what I'm asking here is we're having a very good year in the child care fund. The state ward charges are historically low. Commissioner Wheelock is correct. If a situation would arise over the course of the balance of this year, where if we had a neglect and abuse case or something that was significant, the numbers could change. But we have clearly appropriated more money than we need to meet the expenditures in the fund and our match under the state. So as we close the year, I'm asking for permission to only appropriate the amount necessary to avoid a fund deficit in that fund and to retain the balance of the appropriation in the general fund to offset our tax tribunal losses.
Jason?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move we authorize the limit of the child care fund appropriation to the amount required to meet the state grant match.
Support.
Been moved and supported to authorize to limit the child care fund appropriation to the amount required to meet the state grant match and to avoid a fund deficit for financial reporting purposes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Next item is administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first two items are Commissioner disclosures of conflict of interest or potential for that. They're just to be, just to make you aware, there's no action required. The third item, I'll turn over to Chairman of the 2% Committee, Mr. Wheelock, and I believe on your desk you have the summary of the 2% application. So, Sonny, if you want to take it.
Sure. Take it back over.
Here.
You had it once.
You had it once.
Your subcommittee, you met, reviewed the interviews, took interviews from 24. We had 25 scheduled. We took interviews from 24 different nonprofit organizations requesting 2% money from the Grand Traverse Band. Each of the members of the committee scored those applications, and then basically the numbers were added up and divided to determine who was in the top third, middle third, bottom third. And the recommendation that's on your desk tonight is the way they ranked per se by number. And it would be, I would make the motion to approve and forward to the Grand Traverse Band the recommendation of the subcommittee in regard to 2% money.
Second.
Chris?
The only thing I'm surprised at, Commissioner Wheelock, is you did not mention that, of course, we really don't have much influence because...
It's true. And that's generally your standard speech.
Yes.
Well, and it absolutely is true, and I would be...
I couldn't help
I will
myself.
be amazed if, when the appropriations come from Grand Traverse Band, there won't be a number of fundings in each of these three categories.
We'll see.
And a number of them left out of each of the three categories.
I think also it's important to note that Sutton's Bay schools are going after $400,000.
Saw that, try to balance the budget.
And so that will have a major impact on what they can fund,
Yeah, if they
if
get
they
into it.
decide to do that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's an election year.
Okay. Anybody have any additional questions on the 2%?
I just have a clarification. Is that a motion to approve it and send it to the tribe, or to send it to the board next week? Because you could approve it today and send it
Let's just
on.
approve it today.
Yeah.
I would be fine with approving it today and getting it to them. I don't remember what their deadline to receive it is.
end of the month,
but
it would just
we're
give them a
getting
little
very
bit further.
close,
Yeah.
and with the holidays.
Gets it
it's-
earlier.
It's
So the
probably
motion
good
would
to get it to them.
is to have the board ratify it
Right.
tonight.
Okay.
Is that acceptable, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody understand the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's unanimous. We'll ratify that at our meeting next Wednesday night, correct?
No,
No, we just ratified, we just
did.
ratified it
Okay.
now.
All
Now,
right.
we're done.
We're done.
Okay, next item is unfinished business. We got a lot of that, but we're not going to discuss it.
he's in rare form. And
It's Christmas.
Mr. Chairman, and I can do it now, I can do it later. I have for your distribution tonight, the Solid Waste Planning Committee approved Amendment 2011-2 this morning. The 90-day public input process came up on December 19th. We met this morning and reviewed a couple recommendations from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Those changes have been made in this plan. I'm going to ask to distribute these to you. I would ask commissioners to look at this, and I'm hoping that you will agree to allow this to be an agenda item for next week's meeting, because it has to be approved by the Board of Commissioners before we can take it to the townships. And, if we can get it approved next week, we can get on the townships and the city and the villages' agendas in January. Otherwise, we have to wait until the end of January for you to approve this, and then we can't go out until February or March to get the township's approval. So I will distribute these tonight, and would ask that you agree to allow me to have this added to the agenda for next week's meeting.
Does anyone have a problem with putting that on the agenda for next week's meeting? Seeing none, we'll put
There's
it
no
on the agenda.
surprises. This is basically what I've been telling you for
Yep.
6 months was coming.
Mr. Chairman, can I also I'm not asking for a motion, I'm just passing out information. Probably would be appropriate under this issue. We asked all the county commissioners to to fill out a performance evaluation for our County Administrator, Dennis Aloya. We have the summation of those evaluations ready to submit to you this evening. I will hand those out to you. I will let you know that the summary of among the 9 county commissioners as an average and the end is an 8 out of 10, which is consistent with the evaluation that was done last year. So if you have any questions or comments regarding his evaluation, you could make those at the board meeting at the end of the month under Commissioners' comments. So I will pass, so it'll give you time to read it, review it, and review other commissioner comments and remarks. We got 3 coming that way, and we'll send
You need one,
the rest
Bonnie?
of them this way. I have one at home already.
Okay.
Yeah.
She may need one for the record, I don't know.
You want one?
All right.
You got enough?
Yeah,
You
we're,
want one more?
We're fine.
unless you have an extra.
We have an extra.
Yeah, there's,
Well, Dick's not here, so we have an extra.
because Dick's not here, so.
We'll flip
Well,
them back.
we'll need to put his in his mailbox.
me that
I
in the
have a
mailbox.
copy of
I
it,
can
so.
do that.
I'm
All right, okay. Yeah, so we'll put one in Dick. Put it on his desk, we'll get it on his,
No, Dick's, I mean,
Dennis has.
I've got it,
Oh,
put it in his
okay.
mailbox.
that's an extra one.
Okay, next item on the agenda is new business, and we had a handout regarding a magistrate's position and recommendation, appointment, I should say. And Ross?
Yeah, I would move that we ratify the appointment of Angel Kaylee Wolf to be Attorney Magistrate of the Grand Traverse Division
Second.
of the 86th District Court.
Who was the support? Okay,
Angel.
yes,
I'm only a little confused. Didn't we approve last week to have Bob?
Bob Brown.
Judge Haley recently had foot surgery and will be out for 6 weeks. And so in order to cover for that, they're asking for the second magistrate.
And they have funding within their budget to cover that?
Yeah.
and they're in good shape.
Okay, does everybody understand the magistrate appointment? If so, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, just a question for the administrator. I talked to Dennis today, and I think he had planned on just making just some summary remarks regarding
Yep.
the offer he had received from Benton County, Oregon. So it's your call when you want to have that happen.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I had discussed,
Put your mic up there.
oh, I'm sorry.
He's got one bad ear, so do I.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Yes, I had a meeting with the county administrator today, and there was not exactly a correct press release released by Benton County, Oregon today, and of course, this is the first meeting since the announcement of an offer from another county to take on Dennis as their new chief operating officer, county administrator, and he really hasn't had an opportunity to speak and make any remarks to the commission at this this would be their first meeting. So I asked him if he would like to make a few remarks regarding the offer, and he said he would be happy to do so. So whatever you feel that's appropriate.
Dennis, we don't have a problem with it, so if you'd proceed, please.
Yep. The only thing I wanted to point out to commissioners is that I have received an offer, and I have, they're pushing for an answer. But what we have done is, in order to try to address that need on their part, we negotiated terms of a contract that are acceptable to me, that are acceptable to them. Their county board approved it last night, and the paper this morning in Benton says that I've accepted the job, and we were very clear that, I was very clear with them that I needed this next week when my family comes here, that I want to talk this over with my family, and I want to talk to my children about it before I make a decision. And as I told Brian McGilvery from the paper today, that is still my intention. I called them in Benton County, and I reaffirmed with them that is my intention. But when you see that they have approved a contract, the commissioners have signed it, and I am in agreement with all the terms of the contract. It's now at that personal level where I want to talk with my family before I make a decision. But I will have a decision by the first of the year, as I've told the chairman, and I expect to be able to announce it to you on your reorganization meeting, on it, which I think is the second.
Third. Yeah.
Third, okay.
Larry?
Well, I just want to, I know each one of you may have personal feelings about this. I will just express real briefly my feelings that, as Mr. Gilman has said in his clever humor to me, my tenure through Grand Traverse County, I've continued to tell everyone that I felt that we had the top county administrator, not only in the state, but around the country with my affiliation with the Michigan Association of Counties and the National Association of Counties, and obviously I've done too good of a job broadcasting that Dennis now is getting offers around the country. And it's to Dennis's tribute and his staff and his team that he's put together, and to this county commission and the previous county commissions, that we have been recognized not only state but nationally as a county that is well-managed, well-operated, well-budgeted, and financially secure, and that we are innovative and we are active, not only in our community, but our state association, our national association, and we make a difference, not only state, nationally, but locally. We're well respected. We have a lot of interlocal agreements. We've been very active in economic development and brownfield, in the brownfield area where a lot of communities have not had that experience level. Dennis brings that level of expertise in his stage in his career, that he would be seen by other counties as someone that would bring those expertise and those great values that we have to their counties. So it's a tribute to Dennis, and it's really a compliment to Dennis that he has received this offer, and he has received inquiries in the past, and he has declined those. And I got those in the banking industry on an ongoing basis towards the end of my career, where organizations see great benefit in bringing somebody over with a vast amount of experience and has made a difference in their organizations. And I compliment him on his, what I view as his national and state reputation as one of the top administrators in the country. My personal feeling is that I would really hate to see Dennis leave the county. He's been a perfect fit for us. He's gotten us over the last 10 years to a good position, to an excellent position, and I've just have seen, the people he's brought on that have left. His management team is excellent. His quality of his picks, his way he does his business with his staff is excellent, and I believe he does have a very good rapport with this Board of Commissioners, and I would just hate to see him leave. I know that he's got one leap left in his career. As you know, county administrators, city managers, university presidents, it's just the nature of the job. They start out at a lower area of wherever they're going to apply for, and they just keep moving up, and their salaries and their compensations continue to increase, and their levels of responsibility and larger populations increase, and that's just sort of the nature of the business. And I've always hoped that Dennis would see Grand Traverse County as his final stop, but he does have from what I'm aware of, he does have an excellent offer by another county. It is, in my view, seen as a promotion from a compensation standpoint and also from a career challenge standpoint. And Dennis, I just want to relay to you as one individual on this board, if there's anything that I can or if any other commissioner wishes to speak up at this time, do to let you know how much we dearly care for you and how much we appreciate everything you've done for us as a county commission, as a community, and as county government. I would try to do everything within my powers of influence to ask you to stay and make whatever adjustments we need to do to carry that relationship, so I will make that public.
Dennis?
I want to thank the chairman for those comments. I'm not really good at listening to that kind of stuff about me, and but I really appreciate it, and I've had a number of you call and contact me, and I want to thank you for those comments. I just want to be clear with you, this is not a matter of money. at all. That's never been the top priority with me, and it's really just a personal decision at this point in time that I'm going to make with my family. So I really do appreciate everything that's been said. You know, please don't try to second guess, you know, where I'm coming from on this. You know, it's not a matter of whether I got direction from the board or not. I've had a really good relationship with the board as a whole. I feel that, you know, I've been fortunate to have such a great relationship with the county board as a whole. And so, you know, I thank you for that.
Chris?
Well, since you mentioned direction, Dennis, I have to comment on what I was quoted on in the Record Eagle. And I did call Commissioner Fleece about this. I went, you know, this is just, I was relaying to the Record Eagle a conversation that you and I and Commissioner Henschel were having. And we were talking about the budget, and I said, you know, really what I think we ought to do next year is have a conversation as a board whether or not we should take, because obviously we're going to have to make some tough decisions. Should we take a little bit out of each department, or should we take more out of discretionary spending? I said, I really think you need more direction from the board, and I was relaying this to the Record Eagle, and unfortunately, it didn't come out that way, and I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, and by the way, I want to say for the whole board, I agree with that concept that the two commissioners talked to me about.
Thank you. I mean, and I was only, you know, and I did relay the whole story, but apparently that's not what came across. The other thing I want to say is that at Monday's City Commission meeting, I did go up to Katie Loren, and Linda, please don't take offense at this because this is not directed at you, and I hope you have a sense of humor. I did walk up to Katie and I said, "This is your fault."
So it's my fault and Katie's fault.
And I did say to the Record Eagle, I'm not surprised, and I'm really not, because someone who, and Dennis and I have had our differences in the past, and if he stays, we probably will have differences in the future. But someone someone like Dennis appreciates a challenge. And I think that's what he views this as, and that's what I'm hearing him say. And regardless of what his decision is, I'm sure it's going to be the best for him and for the family. And really, I guess that kind of sums it up.
Thank you.
Mr.
And
Gilman?
he's smiling. Look at that.
Hey, I wasn't sure which would be the best thing to say. A Rolling Stone gathers no moss, or rust never sleeps. I will tell you though, if you do decide to take the position out in Oregon, I will have to make it a point to come by and toilet paper your house when I go visit my daughter. So
Okay.
just so you know, somebody from Michigan was
I
here.
think I might rent. Thank you. And I have to get used to, if I do decide that, I have to get used to Oregon, you know, because I
Oregon.
can't pronounce it, Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah, you can't say Oregon.
Please don't take Dean with you. If you go.
Well, it's interesting, there is
Don't do
they
that.
have created a brand-new position of finance director that they want me to fill
Someone
if I
needs
come
to
and take
plant
that.
him here.
I quit.
Are there any other comments? I'm going to reserve my comments regarding the situation till after Dennis has made his decision. And I spoke with his wife, and I'm trying to get an invitation to this family gathering.
Bring plenty of
Offer to bring ham and wine.
flowers and
There'll be food.
Okay, next item on the agenda is second public comment. Linda, you're the public. No comment, okay. Next item is Commissioner Committee reports. Rob?
Just an update on the ongoing issue with Northern Lakes Community Mental Health, and a little bit of drama going there. Just to remind you, we have an agreement with them, the founding document that formed that organization with 5 other counties, including ours, or in addition to ours, says that they'll provide mental health services in the jails. And as you know, in our budget, we have I think it's $20,000 or $30,000 that we're spending on mental health services outside of the contract that we already have. So in discussion with their board, it doesn't look like they're interested in keeping their word on that.
Really?
One board member suggested that this won't be resolved until it's adjudicated. However, I did move that the board get its own legal opinion to look at what our lawyer says on the other side, as I sit on that board. So hopefully they'll get a legal opinion that, and we'll have to go from there, so.
Larry?
I just want to make mention that completing my first of my second year as chairman, I just want to personally thank each and every one of you, county commissioners, Dennis, your staff, your leadership team, everyone that works here, for the work ethic and the high communication that we've had, and my commitment to make this an open and honest and fair and trust relationship with the Board of Commissioners and staff and your leadership team and Dennis. And I think we had a great year. We accomplished a lot of things. I want to thank all of the commissioners for allowing me to keep you informed as best as I can with all the phone calls and trading back and forth, and the calls that you've made, letting me know what's going on. And so I just want to thank you for a great year, and I look forward to hopefully another successful year next year. And I want to thank everyone here for your leadership. You did a great job.
Herb?
Is this time for announcements too?
Yep, in fact, we're there.
Okay. I would just like to thank Rich and Kathy from the Swing Shift with the Stars for representing the Conservation District. They raised $55,000 for the Conservation District, which is the top fundraiser this year for the Swing Shift with the Stars. So I want to thank the public, all the staff, and all the people that are involved with the Conservation District. It's a great thing because not only did they raise the money, but they raised awareness of what the Conservation District really does. And that is the critical piece. And I think they're moving forward, and I'm really excited. I'm really pleased to say thank you for all the people that have donated money to that, and looking forward to good things for the next year.
Sonny?
Just on a personal note, I apologize, I left everyone's Christmas cards on my desk and didn't bring them with me. But when you get them, you'll find that in lieu of token gifts this year, I again donated money, or actually gifts, to Toys for Tots this year. So I appreciate the friendship and fellowship that we have, but it just seems that there are other people more in need than we are, fortunately.
Dennis?
Chris asked me to remind you that claims will be on 12/27 at 10:30 a.m. I think they're usually at 10, so it's 10:30.
Just to let you know, I will not be at claim, so I think that's Gilman and Henschel.
It is.
Yeah, okay, great, 10:30, thank you.
Chris?
And I just wanted to note that you will all see that you have little Christmas things on your desk from me, and Commissioner Thomas's is much bigger than everyone else's, and that's because I know he doesn't cook, but he says he doesn't cook well, and just keep your nose out of there. So that's why his is a little bigger.
Larry?
Well, it dawned on me after I left Christmas cards in everyone's box, you probably wouldn't even know where those chocolates came from, so I went around
And sample them all?
No, I went around, and I went back and pulled everyone's box, and the ones that hadn't pulled it out yet, I wrote it, "Enjoy the treat," and the other ones, I said, okay, I got to call them up and let them know I left a piece of candy for them, so enjoy them.
I did ask when I got mine.
Yeah, so.
And I have been enjoying them. They're
Yes,
quite
they're very
tasty.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other notices? Or
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
We got closed session.
No.
Okay. Adjournment?
Merry Christmas, all.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.